Thank you, Sunny, for joining us today on Let's Talk Business Series by Reality and XT.
Thank you so much, Kritika, for having me over. It's a pleasure.
So, Sunny, born in the real estate family, how did the family business affected your decision or your passion for the industry? And what kind of values did you inherit from your family that guide your leadership style in Supreme right now?
So I'll tell you, Kritika, as a young boy, I always saw my father talking about real estate, talking about development. Obviously, back then the business was very different. But there was a burning desire in me always to explore on my own. I didn't grow up with the idea of always or for sure joining the business. I always was very clear that whenever I'm ready, I'm going to take a decision only if I am actually interested in this business.
Hmm.
So I'll tell you a small story. I actually did not even speak to my father or when I was graduating, and I sat for campus placement interviews. And out of I think about 80 of us, 2 of us got selected for a job at Ambit RSM, which was the Ashok Vadva Group, as risk consultants
Hmm.
doing fraud investigation and risk audit. We obviously had no experience. And I sat for the placement interview. There was a little entrance exam, some test, and 2 of us got selected. Now I got handed out an offer letter, and obviously the pay back then, if I tell you, you laugh right now.
Hmm.
But I mentally decided that I do not want to directly ever feel that just because I was my father's son, I had this opportunity, and hence I just took that,
Hmm.
and nothing else was explored. So I said, I want to throw myself in the ocean and look at seeing what is out there before I take any decision. And we had obviously a gap between our final exam and the job starting. It was about a month. So for 1 month, like everybody else, I was chilling, having a good time. And then I started work. And I had like crazy timings. I was to be there at 9, come back home at 11 because I was an analyst. So we had a lot of, audits to do, and there's a lot of learning from the partners I was
Yeah.
working with. And after about a month of my job, over dinner once, my father asked me that if you're done partying and having a good time, do you want to get serious and start work?
Hmm.
I said, I'm already working. He said, What do you mean you're already working?
Hmm.
I said, I've taken up a job and I'm already employed in this company. And the reason I didn't tell him this back then because I knew that it would not be taken very well.
Yeah.
And he told me, "Are you crazy? Like, why would you even look at working anywhere outside?"
Hmm.
I told him, if I joined the business, I would never know what was there outside for me and whether I liked anything else or not. And I would never be able to feel that I've started ground up. You know how Indian business families are. You're always looked at as the boss's son. So that's something I never wanted.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make the first rupee with my own effort, without any baggage, without my last name.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. And I had a great time. I worked there for about, I think, almost 2 years. And it was the most rigorous, so-called exposure to the business world that I could have.
Hmm.
I used to travel to Kochi to do audits in warehouses. I've shared rooms with, people in guest houses there because my rank was so low that the budget on me was the lowest. And I've had the best time of my life, honestly. The amount I learned there, and more than anything, what I learned is discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline in the professional world, which more so in family businesses, you don't get to see that very often, at least back then.
Hmm.
He obviously was not very pleased because all his friends kids had joined the business right after graduating, and that was the de facto decision to take. Uh, so obviously he was not very pleased, and at some point he also felt that I'm just not doing it because I want to rub him the wrong way.
Hmm.
And over the years, I think he did realize that I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing, and it's changing me as a person. And after 2 years, then we had a conversation, and he said, "Listen, I know you like what you do, but if you think you can try this, and if you enjoy the real estate side, you'll probably be able to play a bigger game. Why not you use your skill set and try to make something out of this? I've created a platform. It's for you to grow, and if you're not interested, there's no sense in me taking the platform further." And that made sense to me. So I didn't join the business because I was his son and that is what I'm supposed to do. I joined the business after me exploring something outside and then feeling that probably I can come here and add value. And my condition also was that I will only do this if I'm enjoying it. I don't care about the kind of money behind it, but if I'm not happy every day, and not enjoying what I'm doing, there's no sense in even making money, right?
Yeah.
And then I did join after a couple of years, and I started living on a construction site in Pune. I had some space there in one of the apartments. I used to literally for 1 year be on the construction site, look at the most bizarre things of how concrete is mixed. Back then, we used to mix concrete on site. RMC was not very popular. How steel bars are cut. So I used to sit with the contractors just to understand how things are done on site. And from there on, I started enjoying looking at land purchase and all the laws and what goes behind all of that. And so I tried to expose myself in every department of the business, trying to understand what is it that is my core interest and core strength. And gradually, then you do realize what you have a flair for and what really makes sense. And it's very important for you to expose yourself to everything. And the way I self trained myself was also because of my experience in the corporate world, where I understood what went behind training, someone who's just joined afresh, and the kind of rigorous process they followed, and the focus on systems. Because I was doing audit and even process audit, I understood the emphasis on process, on systems, on structure, which was which was lacking completely. When I joined the business, I just realized that everything just goes up to the top. There is no system, there is no structure,
No hierarchy.
and everything and every day is just troubleshooting. You just whatever is really important, you attend to that, and then you move to the next. So I realized that there is a great scope for us to transform the way we work. It can be done in a much smarter way, and that's what my intent has been, and my effort has been really. It's still a work in progress, and that's my journey. And then I started enjoying the whole process of development, of creating something that is going to last beyond your lifetime. So we literally look at a piece of land, we have a vision, we see tomorrow, we see what we feel is going to be the right bet for this location. So we all of us in our business literally have long term bets. So all of us to some extent are astrologers, where we look at something, we have a plan, and everything is in our head, and then layer by layer you start peeling all of that off, and all of that comes to reality. It's like we giving birth to a baby every time you're doing a new project.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of labor. The labor pain is not visible outside. We know what we go through.
Yeah.
And so each project is like delivering a new baby. And for those of us who are passionate about even construction and design, and I am extremely deeply involved and passionate about that, when you see that project come up and you start putting all the puzzles and pieces together, and finally you see that thing ready and the baby delivered, and you name the baby, that's when you just the kind of satisfaction you get when you see that, and that is going to be there for the world to see for decades to come. I think that process of envisioning this on a piece of paper to actually having this on a piece of land and there for years to come, I think that process is just amazing, and that's what I started enjoying. And the one you also asked me about what we've inherited. So I keep telling everybody the biggest land bank I've inherited from my father is the one single mantra of never ever go back on your word. You lose profit, but you cannot lose your brand name. And the one thing I keep telling the entire team: your net worth is not what is in your bank. Your net worth is what people talk behind your back when you are not watching.
True.
And if that is your focus, and if that is your philosophy of doing business, I don't think you can go wrong. You can make mistakes, but you can never be out of business. So the one line of Warren Buffett is, I think it's cast in stone in my head. It's not your time in the market, it's your timing in the market that decides your success or failure. So if you keep playing the game right, year after year after year, you will grow, and you will grow in the right direction. The problem is most of us are not happy with the right consistent pace of growth. Many times you really look at a certain situation, greed overtakes your rational, and that's when the wrong decisions are taken. And nobody most times has taken a wrong decision in bad time. You mostly take wrong decisions in good times. So it is in good times that you really need to make sure that your head is on your shoulders, your values are in place, and your basic business rationale is in your mind when you're taking any decision. And at no point of time, I think any amount of profit can justify you shortchanging anybody you're dealing with. And in our business, unfortunately, there is a massive trust deficit still.
Yeah.
Things are changing now because of regulation, because of the way things have changed. The entire landscape has changed. Customers have become a lot more aware. Things are changing. So I just feel that if the new breed of developers, the likes of us, all of us, who've taken over, and a lot of our seniors, I think the baton is now with us, honestly, to make sure that we change the perception
Yeah.
of what people feel about our industry. Because I don't do, if not more, I think we are at par with any other industry in the kind of effort that goes into looking at any new project. Every project is like putting up a new plant.
True.
So the kind of effort that goes in, it looks very easy from the outside, but the kind of uh, situations we deal with, the kind of authorities we deal with, and the way the entire structure of our business is, I mean, it's not easy, and most people can't hack it. So I just think that it's about time that we get our due, and I feel in the decades to come, where you will see consolidation at a much higher pace, you will see greater development, you will see more organized players, you will see even players who are mid-sized getting a lot more organized. The whole structure will change. The kind of talent we're attracting today, our industry is a lot more superior compared to what we did a decade ago, because it has become one of the mainstream businesses now. So I feel the next decade is going to be one of the most exciting times in our industry from every point of view.
No, it's good. You're being optimistic because now we are also seeing the change. Like the way the real estate landscape was before, not organized, as you also mentioned, and you noticed. Now it's being more organized, the technology is being implemented, and having the right foundation. As you said, the values really matter because the lack of transparency and trust was an issue when it came to real estate industry, right? So now a lot of second generation developers are creating that values, are having those foundation quite strong so the customers can also rely on the brand. But going back to what you said, it's quite interesting that you went dirty your hands and went for the practical knowledge and everything. But if you had to look back during your childhood, you must have noticed your father visiting the sites, going to those sites, and you must have also accompanied him during those time. Did you aspire, this is my field? I know you later went for a job, but during those times when you saw those sites, how the buildings were being developed, how your father had envisioned something on the paper and how it's going in the construction, during those times, did you aspire, this is the field for me?
So I won't lie, I was always very curious, because at those times, we used to have these large blueprints.
Yeah.
That's how plans were approved. Nothing was online, obviously, back then. So I used to see these large blueprints coming home where it would occupy the entire dining table. And I would just try to look at that and try to understand, what are these dimensions? What is this entire, FSI statement? So obviously, it was very technical for me at that time as a kid, but it was also very intriguing. Where I would look at my father, look at a blueprint, and then suddenly I would see that this building is coming up, on a piece of land near my house. So I was always very intrigued, uh, but at the same time, something inside me always wanted me to explore beyond, and then keep seeking before I actually settle. So you keep saying that you want to meet a lot of girls before you decide to settle down.
Yeah.
So that was the logic for me, that
Okay.
date as many professions as you can before you really decide what you want to do, because once you're committed to the family business, it's very difficult to go back,
True.
and that never happened. So before you get married, you should date a few times.
So tell me, being the second generation real
uh,
estate developer,
uh,
how did you balance the rich legacy of the
mm.
company Supreme Universal by, incorporating or making sure the need of the innovation is present and staying ahead of the competition is always there?
So the first thing, Kritika, I believe, is that you have to accept that you do not know everything.
Hmm.
If you in your head think that I know it all just because I am sitting on a certain chair, that's a recipe for disaster. So I might not be too many things, but the one thing I am is a seeker. I always want to learn. If there's an opportunity, I will grab that. So from the onset, I try to expose myself, even though I joined the business. I always want to study further. So I did some management programs at ISB along with me being at work, and I always at some point was fascinated by doing executive MBA at Harvard. So I went and applied. I applied actually when I was very young, and they rejected me because of my age. And then I applied again, uh, and I think they got fed up with my application, and they realized that maybe we should give this guy a shot. And then I got in, and I did my OPM, Owner President Management Program at HBS. I started that in 2018. Uh, it's a 3-year program. It's so you go there for 1 month, and then you're back at work. That's how it is. 1 month on campus, and the rest of the time you're back at work. So 18 and 19 were 2 years. Uh, Post that, we had COVID for 2 years, so we couldn't go to campus. And then I finally graduated last year in March 2023. I'm telling you this because at no point of time, although I've been in the business now for close to 2 decades, at no point of time did I, ever feel that I know it all. So at every point of time, you have to reinvent yourself. So initially, when I started off, I first tried to put the nuts and bolts in place in terms of getting the right people, putting a structure, putting some systems. We implemented an ERP way back many more than about 10, 12 years ago, and we've kept on looking at what we can do to make sure that the system is automated, or at least the system is set where we don't repeat the same mistakes, and bandwidth is not choked because of a process not being in place. So it's still work in progress. We're still working on that. We're still looking at how we can uh, automate certain processes. To give you a simple example, what we're working on now is we're looking at having a customer portal linked to our ERP. So what are the basics that the customers want when they actually buy a home? They want their account details. They want their agreement at a click of a button. They want their receipts. They want their demand letters coming. They want to know the status of the site. They want pictures, images of the site.
Yeah.
So these basics can easily today be linked with your ERP. So we've now worked with our ERP vendor where now this customer portal will be going live very soon. Where for mundane things, the customer doesn't need to really ask us. The customer has visibility of what they paid, what they're going to pay, what is the schedule, at which they'll be able to pay the next milestone. So they have whatever they would need from a hygiene perspective is all going to be there, including images. We actually want to go a step further. So I keep telling my team, equate this to ordering something on Swiggy. When I order something on Swiggy, I know that my food is being prepared. I know the person has left. I know he's going to be at my house in so and so time. The ease of me sitting at home and outsourcing my chef to a certain restaurant and getting it delivered to me with as much transparency, I think that is where we need to go as far as tech, even in real estate, is concerned. When someone today is buying a home, it's always going to be a tangible buy where you will want to still touch, feel, see a show apartment. But there are a lot of enablers that are going to make your life a lot easier, that are going to make you increase your trust in the developer and the project. So I think going forward, we are also going to reach a stage where you can literally, from the click of your button, from your app, see your apartment. You can see the kind of work that is happening in your apartment. So let's say, Kritika, you buy a 3 BHK. You right now at the stage at which the project is got launched, you have bought a piece of paper and you bought air. There's nothing that you have. If you literally with slab after slab can see that the last slab was cast in so many days, next slab due is so and so, you're seeing a building coming up on your phone. Each time you want to see, you're getting to see live photographs. And if you can today get into your apartment and actually see the status of your apartment, you can show your family that this is your apartment, walls are coming up, bathrooms are being made. I think that is the level of tech that I think we are going to reach very, very soon. We are at least trying to work on this, because I think the more you can in a transparent manner showcase to your customer, the lesser questions that they will have, and they will be your brand ambassadors for free. And there is nothing more powerful. An ad in the newspaper is not half as powerful as a customer going and telling 5 people that listen, buy with them, you can sleep in peace.
True.
I think that one line is worth I don't know how many million bucks. So all of what you do today, I think you have to keep that vision in mind, that you have to be the first choice of the customer. And if a customer is buying with me, the customer needs to become my brand ambassador for life. The customer and the customer's family. Because imagine today, I mean, we are about to do a project which is about close to 600 apartments in Chembur. We've done a project in Powai which is about 1800 apartments. Now imagine the scale of these apartments. Each apartment will have 4 people living in. All of them will have, each of them will know at least 10 close people. So you imagine the universe of people who are then going to talk the right language for you and for your project. You don't need to market beyond a point.
True. Yeah.
Because our business is so visible, you literally can see and believe that yes, the project is coming up. The experience you give your buyer. So we always, as developers, the erstwhile developers, or the way business was done, it was a, a business of selling, a tangible asset. I think now it's becoming as much of a service as it is a product. You have to make sure the experience is good. You have to make sure that the experience even post you handover is good. So when you're doing large projects or when you're doing luxury projects, you have to, brands are going to be built focus on managing the project, or at least making sure they have the right tie-ups to manage projects. Because if your project is well managed, now imagine if you're living in a XYZ project and you have the confidence this project is going to be well managed. No resident occupant wants to get into managing the society or managing the project.
Yeah.
Correct. So if you can just put those systems in place, whether you have the capability in-house or you tie up with somebody, but as long as you can make sure that this building is well maintained. Now for that, there's a lot of back-end work and a lot of structure to be put in place. So today when you're selling, if you're selling apartments, it's very important to start creating a corpus at the time of sale, where the corpus ultimately is healthy enough to take care of that large society. So developers today need to think of what is going to happen to the occupant's life 3 to 5 years to 10 years down the line after they move in. That is where brands are going to be built. That is where projects are going to have the value and hold the value for years to come. You look at any old building today, 10, 20, 30, 40 years old, project that commands a premium today is for two reasons.
Yeah.
Apart from location, the way they are maintained and the gentry they have attracted. You look at any of the older projects that you think of. So this is the level to which developers today need to think. We are not only developers, we're in whatever minor form are urban planners. We need to think of how this life inside this community is going to be sustainable. So that is the level to which we need to go, and tech is going to be a good enabler for us to be able to make life easier for our residents. You're ultimately selling a lifestyle, right? If I just have to sell 2 rooms and a bathroom, I think that's something that you can purchase anyway. What am I doing differently?
So you guys are focusing very much on luxury segment side, right? And I feel if I'm even asking this question, I feel you have already answered, but I've noticed you guys have, gained quite success in this segment.
Correct.
So what do you feel the factors is there to contribute to the success? Is this the thing where you answered convenience to the customer, creating a great experience from, handing over to home, from the selling point of view? So what factors have contributed to this success?
So the number one thing, Kritika, I'll tell you is product design. When you're doing luxury, what you really need to focus on is how they're going to use the space. What is the difference between a 2 bed and a 4 bed or a 5 bed? It is the usage of space, correct? When you're doing a 2 bed to fit it in a certain ticket size to make it achievable and affordable for the buyer. Likewise, when you're doing a luxury apartment, the planning and what all you've incorporated in terms of the layout of the apartment becomes extremely important. So your air ventilation, light ventilation, the sizes of rooms, what all do you fit in apart from the common amenities in the building. So today room sizes become extremely important, because when someone is buying luxury, they know real estate. They're not buying their first home. They're probably buying their third or fourth home.
True.
So if it's an upgrade, they are investing now in the next 20 years in the lifestyle of their family. Now they all know very clearly what they want out of their life inside the apartment and inside the complex. So you need to understand the mindset of, if you were the customer, how would you want to use the space? So real estate is about understanding the mindset of the customer, of what they want from the house, of how they plan to use this. Today, if let's say a 12 by a 10 by 12 or 11 by 12 room size in a 2 BHK might work, that won't work in a luxury apartment, right?
True.
How the size of your windows, the kind of windows that you provide, the kind of decks that you provide. So lot of, I mean, today I have guys who are buying luxury apartments of 30 crores and upwards. Their demands now are not about rooms. Their demands are about two walk-in wardrobes, one for his and one for her. I have some men who also come and told me that, can you make sure that I can even have a separate apartment so that if me and my wife need to sleep separately at times, even that happens. So you need to understand how life has changed, and life after COVID has changed drastically. If you look at luxury sales in Bombay from 2017 to 2020, sales beyond 10 crore ticket size were about in the range of 9,500 units. 2021, it was over 20,000 units. The ticket size above 10 crores. That's the kind of quantum leap jump. Yes, you can argue that some of it was pent up demand. You can argue some of it was because stamp duty, but there was demand, right? These numbers are registered. So I feel that this entire segment is underserved, because the kind of millionaires you're going to see in India is going to be the size of population of many countries. The growth of millionaires in India, it was 11% in 2020 alone. That was the growth in the number of millionaires. So I feel that it's real estate is all about understanding the usage and catering to that usage. Everything else can be worked upon. The knowledge of the product type, it's like designing a car. Correct? You want the right leg room, you want the right horsepower, you want the right comfort in terms of the seat. So there are a lot of finer details, and hence I feel that real estate, like 20 years back, anybody who had money thought that they could buy land and become a developer. It is a business of you understanding the need of the customer, because you're not only, you might sell to, let's say, the person who's buying, he or she, but their decision is based on how their family is going to use this. So you're catering to literally serving to the lifestyle of this family for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. So understanding that, I think, is extremely important. Quite interesting you said that, because I wanted to know, as you brought about the client part, how you make sure that you address actively the discerning demands of your high-end clientele in your projects. So, like I told you, first is obviously you understanding what really works. Like in the affordable segment, 30 square feet could be a margin of error. Here, it could be 300 square feet. If you're 300 square feet short, it might not serve the person's purpose. True. So, understanding the right sizing, understanding also the kind of locations and the kind of plot sizes and shapes that will work to fit that product type. Not every product type and every location will work. When you're dealing with luxury, the person wants to check all boxes, because they today are putting down top dollar. It's not a need, correct? It is an upgrade. So they want to check all boxes only when then will they be happy to go. So what's the checklist like for a high-end clientele? So today, its location is obviously the developer, because they want to be sure of the kind of people they're dealing with, timely delivery, quality. That's hygiene. But for the luxury buyer, it's aesthetics, because they're well traveled. They've seen the world. They've seen the best properties around the world in Europe, UK, America. So they now equate their lifestyle with that. So they want to get everything that money can buy. The kind of efficiency of your layout, is it serving their purpose? The kind of customized ability that your apartment really has. So your structure needs to be designed keeping in mind that I might have decided a certain floor plan, keeping everything that I know in mind, but that person might come, and no two people are the same. No two people use their house in the same way. Today, a nuclear family might not want so many bedrooms. They might want to collapse everything and make a large den, increase it, the deck size or the living room size. So you have to make sure that in luxury, you give as much flexibility as possible, at least within the apartment. You don't want to obviously change the facade, but keeping that uniform within the apartment, you want to make sure that they have all the flexibility. So all of this, I think, is these are small pieces, but they matter a great deal in the success of the project. So when it comes to amenities, how do you make sure the right amenities cater to these high-end clientele? So there are two kinds of clients that you'll meet. One kind of clientele are who probably have kids and who want larger gated communities, who want large amenities, big common areas. Then there are guys who today don't want to be seen. understated luxury. They have it all,
Yeah.
but they want to be hidden. They want to be in projects where they have it all, but there are not too many people. It's like living in a vertical villa.
Exclusive
So
premium.
they
Yeah.
want lesser people to look to
Mm.
be interacting every day, lesser people to be able to manage and maintain the
Mm.
condominium. So here, in a standalone building today,
Mm.
they obviously do want your swimming pools, your sky lounge, your gym, your banquet, the double height entrance lobby. So here it's a lot about the basic amenities, but it's also a lot about when they invite people over, what is the experience that that project gives? What is the arrival like? How is the entire landscape design of the project? How is the interior design of your common areas?
From the lobby to the lift to
Exactly.
the
Because
apartment. Yeah.
today, so we've done a project on Pali Hill where we've sold apartments for close to 40 to 50 crores. Now, those buyers are are those who obviously you know for them their everyday life is important. Many of them are people who attract people from that strata of society in their circle, in their business circle. So they want to make sure that when they're sending an invitation and when someone comes home, they're awed and they feel that this person has really made the right decision.
Yeah.
So at that time, it's not about showing off. It's about uh, you know you making people also really feel and realize that you have chosen the right thing and you've really got a gem in the entire crowded
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
of real estate. So I think these finer things really are extremely important, and aesthetics I think go a long way. So we actually did away with any sort of marble in a project like this. And for when you think of luxury, you think that marble to hoga hai, marble has to be there everywhere you'll clad.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have 1 square inch of marble in any of the common areas. We actually had printed customized printed cemented tiles that you would probably see in a Soho house in London. We had a lot of wood paneling. We had a lot of artwork. So we had a lot of stone cladding on the building with carvings on the building. So we made sure that we give the experience of arrival where there is so much of warmth when you enter.
Yeah.
So my brief to the entire design team was that we need to appeal to all senses. When somebody comes in, what they see, what they smell, what they hear, what they feel, what they touch, everything should be warm where really they feel they've come home. The arrival should not be that they've come to a hotel, because you go to a hotel for a different reason.
Yeah.
But when you come home, you really want to feel that you're cocooned in a space that's safe and secure for you. You forget all your worries of the outside world. It should not intimidate you. It should make you feel warm. It should make you feel grounded. And that's what a home should be. And that was our design brief, and everyone worked around that.
No, good you stated Pali Hill because it is one of the beautiful project. That's why I wanted to ask from you from the lobby. When you start from the lobby, that feeling is not there that you are entering a hotel or you're not entering like those typical, as you said, marble. The maximum high-end premium buildings you see, the lobby is full with different kind of magnificent kind of marbles. But in the Pali Hill project, the lobby itself gives you a warm welcome.
Correct.
It makes you feel okay. This is exclusive, exclusive for you, exclusive for your home. So what exactly went through because every detail was, as you were explaining, that you had informed the designer that it needs to be touching upon all these senses. But what exactly went when you started with the project? Like, how did you come up with this kind of plan, or what kind of direction you want to take this project in?
So I tell you, Kritika, this was very interesting because when I sat with the team, what I told them is our buyer comes from money. Our buyer can buy everything that money can buy.
True.
What is it that money can't buy? Is peace of mind.
Yeah.
Money cannot buy how you feel, your state of mind, state of zen. You're just feeling happy, feeling calm. Most of the people who are here are all from large businesses, so they have a very hectic schedule. When they're out, they're totally absorbed in the business world or in their own personal lives. The one thing that we really should do is when they come here, our design aesthetic and this space should silence their mind. It should make them want to turn inwards, because everything that we do is external to us. I also have a slight spiritual bent of mind. So, we actually, when you enter the lobby, I don't know if you've seen that, we have a saying in Sanskrit and we have an English translation down. it says that the power to change your own destiny lies within, and your state of happiness is actually inside and not outside.
True.
So we wanted to make sure that everything that we do here, the materials we use here, and the kind of landscape views that your eyes see all the time makes you turn inwards and silences your mind, because that is one thing any amount of money cannot allow you to do. And that was, something that I was very focused on, and hence the decision of materials, hence the decision of the kind of plants, the landscaping that we've used, the kind of sounds that we play at all common areas, are the kind of water, features that we have, the sound of water, everything was keeping that objective in mind. And even today, when I have people who go there, none of them go there and not feel this sense of peace and calm. Something just happens where the time stops for some time. And for us, whether you like the design aesthetic or not, some people might come and say, listen, how can you not have marble? For me, as long as time stops for you even for 5 seconds, we've achieved our objective.
True. So the real estate market in India has seen quite, significant shift recently. From the mid segment and to the premium homes are surpassing the affordable homes in sales. So what do you think? What are the factors that is contributing to this positive trend, and how do you see it's going to evolve in the future?
Kritika, the way people use their homes is changing, especially post 2020. The need for space in homes has increased because everyone, wants to have a private space in their own house, whether it's for their own fitness regime, it's their own private home office. So spaces have increased. That's one reason. Secondly, it's also the wealth in India is the wealthy in India are only increasing. There's a large burgeoning middle class. A lot of people are moving into the middle class, and a lot of middle class is moving into the upper middle class. And this will be a continuing trend for decades to come. So you're going to always have need for the size of the houses increasing the minute people enter a different strata of network. And this, I feel, is one of the main demand drivers.
Yeah.
The other, reason is I feel that the kind of supply that now you're getting for luxury real estate was never there earlier. You're also getting developers today who are getting much better with every project. So sometimes it's demand that drives supply, sometimes it's supply that also pulls demand.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of both here. There's genuine demand that's increasing. If you just look at the quantum of luxury sales, you compare that to any other city in the world, I think it's a fraction given our population size. I feel that the demand is going to be extremely sticky and it's here to stay. And everybody today wants to move into a new building after every maybe 15 to 20 years. So it's also, this upgrade is always going to happen. You're always going to have newer buildings that will command a premium and newer buildings that will attract people who can really afford that and will want an upgrade in life. So we don't have, if you just look at the luxury projects, whether it's standalone buildings or it's gated communities, if you look at Bombay, you can actually count the number of large projects in the last 10 years that have come up.
Yeah.
So I feel there's a scope for a lot more. Also, Bombay is a space where land is scarce. It's not very easy to look at the right location, look at the right land parcel to be able to do these projects. So I feel that in the next decade, you will have certain blips here and there, but I feel this demand is going to be sticky.
So we're seeing a lot of developers also entering into luxury segment. What do you say to those developers who are entering into this segment, that how to make sure to sustain this trend and how to make sure to create that kind of projects that of course caters to the customer preference, but also to make sure that those potential buyers are always interested in this particular segment?
So I keep telling this to everybody who speaks to me, that any project type or any business, when it becomes a fad just because it's in vogue and you're reading a lot in the news and you jump onto that bandwagon, I think that's the worst business decision you can make. You have to look at your core strength. You have to look at your own capability, your own understanding about that market, and then take the leap to be able to cater to that segment. So unless and until you don't have a sense about the customer's needs and your internal capability to be able to deliver that, and a passion to do that, I don't think that is sustainable in the long term. Just because 10 people are doing it and you're suddenly seeing, crazy numbers in the newspaper about the deals that are happening, and you want to climb onto the bandwagon, I don't think that works. For a lot of large, period in the middle before COVID, a few years before COVID, you always saw luxury real estate lagging behind the mid segment.
Yeah.
Because there was supply. And at that time, if you spoke to any developer and spoke about luxury, they said, luxury is just it's a bad word. We do not want to look at luxury. We do not want to look at South Bombay. Mid segment is what is selling, and you kept seeing people coming up with small houses. Post COVID, that entire thing changed suddenly.
Yeah.
So these are always cycles. For any developer, I think you have to have your strategy behind your core strength, what works for you. What works for me might not work for someone else, and vice versa. So it's one size doesn't fit all. Different strokes, different folks. So it's very important to know really what your own capabilities are.
So the recent report by Anurag, it stated a positive trend, of course, the declining of unsold inventory of the luxury homes in this particular MMR region. Do you think the grading of the project, which is now being introduced by the government, this is going to create any kind of impact to the segment, or?
So it's still, I think, at a draft stage. There's a lot of thought that needs to go behind this. And so what I really feel, if it's done right, and the philosophy behind it is right, I think it's going a step further in giving that level of transparency to the developer, to the customer. Sorry.
Yeah.
So if anything in the direction of giving the right transparency, but a fair assessment, not something that confuses the customer. So I think it's very important to get into the detail and the fine print of how this grading is going to be done. And at no point of time this grading should result into another step of regulatory bottlenecks that we face, because it's going to be counterproductive then. And if that gets compromised, the whole philosophy behind this grading then makes no sense. So I feel if we're okay to have some sort of a grading, but that grading needs to be uniform for everybody, and then grading needs to give data that is easily backtracked. It cannot be subjective, and it has to make sense to the customer. At no point of time should it be detrimental to the business, as a whole, or the economics behind the business.
Yeah.
So I feel it's very important to study the fine print. It's today we all know there are a lot of rating agencies that come out with ratings, and we've seen with the largest companies getting the best ratings, but they're going into bankruptcy. So I think ratings is somewhere very subjective, unless you can really come out with a math that is uniform for all and is easy to comprehend and understand.
There's also debate going that the grading would be project to project basis.
Correct.
It might even impact the overall as a brand.
Correct.
So the regulators, or they should consider the brand as well. Like if it's a brand developer, where they're coming from, it should not hamper their whole brand altogether based on the project wise.
Correct.
What's your take on that?
So that's what I'm saying, Kritika. It's very important to study the fine print and look at how this is going to get implemented, because at any point of time, if this grading is going to have any level of subjectivity to the officer that is giving you this rating, this entire process is compromised.
Yeah.
And at no point of time can this grading lead to a confusion in the customer's mind, because if that happens, what you're really doing is impacting sale of the project, and then you're impacting the success of that project, and the entire process then is counterproductive. You want to make sure that the right projects sell, and only when the right projects sell will the projects be successful.
True.
So nothing, I think, any amount of regulation is good till it gives transparency and empowers the customer to take a decision.
Yeah.
But if it jeopardizes the economics and the success of the project just because of a subjectivity layer to it, I think that's not good for anybody, neither for the regulator, not for the customer, not for us.
True. But don't you think it's going to filter out? There are so many players getting into it, right? As a home buyer, I'm sure our viewers would also like to know that as a home buyer, if I'm putting my hard-earned money in a unknown developer, and he's promising certain, be amenities or the kind of layout.
Correct.
This grading would help me as a home buyer to understand, I can go ahead with this kind of investment, right?
Absolutely. That's what I told you, Kritika. If the grading is on objective facts, with something that, even the customer knows how this grading is done, and it's on basis of certain numbers that is available to the regulator, and it's available to everybody to see, then it's fantastic. We are all for regulation, we are all for transparency, we are all for empowering the customer to take the right decision. All I'm saying is it should not become another, a window
bottleneck,
which is a bottleneck for us, which has a subjectivity element to it, and then it can be anybody's call. It should just not be something that confuses the customer, in the wrong direction. That's all I'm saying.
So this report which we spoke about has displayed a good positive number for this luxury segment, right? But when it comes to budget homes, it has witnessed quite encountered difficulties, because in what we have noticed, the number is the 13% of yearly increase in the unsold stock of, especially in MMR. What do you think has changed the difference, and how this kind of problem can be tackled by the developers to boost the sales, and what is leading to this kind of trend?
You're talking about the
affordable homes, yeah.
So in terms of sheer numbers, obviously it's a very large number, because that is where, in any pyramid, that is where the volume will be. I feel, with RERA and with a lot of tech, the kind of data analytics that we probably will be able to do in the years to come, I think is going to be much sharper and much smarter than what we could do previously. And data is really the backbone of developers now taking a decision about what's going to sell in this location and what to build in this location. So real estate, like I told you, we're all taking a bet for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. So it's very important for you to look at the right level of data to take that decision. And you need to be nimble. When it's a large project, you really need to know how I can shift my direction and my gears to cater to the changing demand of the customer. For project cycles that are about 3 to 4 years, you probably can read 3 to 4 years ahead. Can I read 7 to 8 years ahead? No, I cannot. You don't know which government is going to be there. So leave alone the demands of customers. So I feel two things. One is data. Second is you incorporating the agility within your design to be able to alter things for your next phase and the phase after, to really cater to the customer. At no point of time, I think, gone are the days where the developer looked at a piece of land and said, I think this will work, make this and it will sell. Today, you need to understand what the customer wants. You have to be so razor sharp in understanding the demand and catering to exactly that, if you want this to be a success. And not only the home sizes, it's the ticket size, it's the kind of amenities they want. How can you plan your costing of the project to fit the customer's pocket? You cannot beyond a point push a customer beyond their budget. So you need to know what works in this location and then work backwards. What is in your control is our land buying decision. So your capital allocation, the largest capital allocation is when you take land. That is what is in your control. And you need to be so focused at that time, because that is where mistakes are made, right? That the buying of the land and the designing of the product, this is what makes or breaks the project. If those two things are right, very seldom will you see, if the financial strategy is not totally out of whack, very seldom will you see that those projects are not successful. So I think this, keeping a ears to the ground, I think is the mantra for success.
But don't you think if the 13% increase have happened in unsold inventory of budget homes, it's quite alarming also, because it showcases that the young generation, the today generation, especially in MMR region, they are going more towards the rental format, because they are saying clearly that, even if I go for luxury or even I go for affordable homes, the kind of description is there in Bombay is different than compared to Ahmedabad, right? If I'm buying an affordable home in Mumbai is 1 crore. But in Ahmedabad, I might get it in 50 lakhs. So the difference of course, the ticket size is different. So the young generation are saying, I rather, pay 1 lakh rental for the Worli apartment rather be fixed by paying EMI. So don't you think that will be alarming, especially for MMR region, if this kind of numbers showcasing?
So, Kritika, we've had this argument now for decades, where we've had people come and tell us that why would you not want to just rent? Why do you want to buy? Firstly, I think the safety and security of having your own home is extremely important. We all saw that in COVID. I personally know of some cases where people were on rent and their rent expired and the rents could not get renewed. And during the process of lockdown, they were literally hunting and finding a house. It's so when you're looking at your personal net worth capital allocation, I think uh, you will always look at having a certain bucket to secure yourself. Nothing is more safe and secure than having a roof above your head.
True.
I think that's one thing that you look at any family today. That's the first thing that they would look at to make sure that there is a permanent roof above my head. Uh, Up to a certain age group, when you're not really sure about which city you really want to make your home, then I understand that you're someone who's right now still finding a foothold in your professional career. You do not want to be locked down to a certain geography. That I understand. But after a certain age, when you have a family, you ask anybody who has kids, they're not going to want to keep hopping and moving every 3 years. You want to make sure that you have a base.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is you invest in that.
Yeah.
You're investing when you're investing in a home, you're not investing just in a piece of real estate. You're investing in the foundation and the security for your entire family. And I don't think that's very deep rooted in our country. I don't think that's going to change. So coming back to your point about these numbers increasing, yes, there have been a few launches. So these percentages sometimes, double digit percentages kind of give you certain anomalies. But I feel that the overall direction of sale velocity and demand is very, very healthy. You've seen that demand grow year after year, and especially post COVID. So I don't think that is going anywhere. It's a very micro market specific business. So there are going to be certain micro markets. So when you look at this, it's very important to deep dive and look at which micro market really has this additional supply. So in the recent past, yes, you've seen certain large layouts also that have gotten launched. So because of which these numbers, I think, look a little bit inflated. But I don't see overall demand going anywhere. Even the affordable segment, I think the demand is fantastic with the network and the road network and the metro, making Bombay within reach for everybody. I think within 45 minutes, broadly, you'll be able to reach anywhere in Bombay in the next few years. I feel you're going to see certain places where the prices are low come up, certain places the prices might not increase. For beyond certain central areas of Bombay and luxury areas, you're somewhere going to see parity in terms of pricing because you're going to be able to reach anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
So I don't feel the demand is going anywhere. Bombay is the place where a lot of people, there's an influx of a lot of people because of a lot of job creation. From your BFSI to your service sectors, there's a lot of job creation in Bombay. I don't feel that demand is going anywhere, Kritika. So these numbers don't scare me. I know that for the intermediate period, you might see a certain high level of inventory. The same thing happened in luxury, by the way.
Yeah.
If you look at a decade ago, people looked at luxury and said these numbers are never going to be sold. Today, you look at people who are doing luxury, there is a dearth of supply. There is so much demand, but there's a dearth of supply. So you're always going to have these certain cycles. At some point, demand will outpace supply, and it'll be vice versa. But directionally, I think we're in the right spot.
True, but correct me if I'm wrong. I need to understand as a viewer and the common man. When it comes to Mumbai market, right? Of course, the demand, if there is, there will be a supply. But the pricing, doesn't the pricing always surprises, especially Mumbai market, that the pricing is always targeted high by the developers, even if you're quoting it as a luxury. Like now, people are even talking in this manner that if I have to buy a home in Bombay, I rather buy in Dubai because it's coming in the same cost. So, what would you say to that?
So, firstly, you have to understand that the price that is commanded in Bombay, 35% of that cost is government cost. If 100 rupees is spent on a project, 35 to 40% is actual costs that we pay to the government for approval. So most of your viewers might not know.
Okay.
So when just because the absolute value is so high, you feel that the developer's margin is so high. The developer's margin is not high. It is because the cost structure with your regulation and in Bombay, the cost structure is such that you can't afford to sell below a certain price because you can't buy land below a certain price. So if your land cost is, let's say, somewhere around 30%, 35 to 40% is your approval cost. So this itself is close to 70%. Another 20 to 25% is a construction cost and other overheads, etc. So that's the cost structure broadly. Now, these are outside your control, right? There's not much you can do. I can't, we always keep talking to the government to reduce cost. The biggest game changer is going to be if government helps us reduce costs so that we can make things a lot more affordable. But that's a long drawn process, and we're obviously talking, and hopefully we'll have some headway somewhere. And hence you see the cost in Bombay being very high. So it's not that developers are charging a high price.
So we are noticing the emergence of technology and digital platforms. We have seen the real estate market also undergoing a digital transformation. So how does the brand like Supreme Universal, leverage this technology to make sure the customer experience is, great, also to streamline the operation?
So, few things that I mentioned earlier, Kritika, we are obviously trying to make sure that the interface with the customer is as tech enabled to give them all the information that they would need, and they should not feel the need to pick up the phone to ask basic hygiene details.
Yeah.
So now we have demand letters, receipts that are being triggered to them on WhatsApp, on email. No longer do we really need to send any sort of an email. It's all auto generated from our system. They have so very soon we'll be rolling out a customer portal where they'll be having their demand letters, their schedule, their agreements, all documents that they would need for their bank loans. All of that is going to be on their mobile phone. The images of the project, regular updates on what was the slab cycle. All of that is going to be at the click of a button. Apart from that, as far as our lead management is concerned, so we, like a lot of people, we obviously do have our lead management softwares where we are trying to analyze the kind of profile of customers that are visiting our sites, the kind of people who are booking, profiling and understanding the customer, because that data really tells us where are we going to get the most bang for our buck. What's the kind of customer that this project is attracting, and we are also going to the extent now of getting feedback from the customers post their site visit to understand their experience. So so there are easy WhatsApp trigger feedbacks. We are also looking at now on our sites having interactive screens where the customers really can look at what's the view from their apartment.
Yeah.
So we obviously have our drone shots. So you literally can from your screens look at the kind of floor you're looking at, and you can look at the views from their 360-degree views, and you actually with your web VRs you can walk into your entire apartment. So we have on sites, we have our AV rooms where you can really wear Oculus. You can walk around, and you can probably just sit on a chair and look around, and you can actually see what the apartment from inside would be like. So we are trying to see how we can make home buying decisions as real as possible, even though we have nothing on site ready. Apart from the live show apartment, we want to also now look at having different renders of what are the different options you can look at from within your apartment.
Yeah.
Some people might have a certain kind of aesthetic sense, some might have something else. So imagine if you're just wearing an Oculus and you're looking inside your apartment, and you can just select a classic style, select a modern style, select a chic kind of a look. So you can select these and just look around, and you'll get a sense of okay, I can also design it this way, because we do this every day. So we probably have these images in our head, but for a customer who's buying and for their family, their wife, their parents, kids, when they look at all of this, their confidence in that product increases a lot more.
True.
So I think these are few things. So tech, I keep telling you, will always be a touch and feel business, but tech is just going to enable you to take your decision being more convinced and informed, and that I think is going to be the biggest game changer.
So in Mumbai market, I've noticed, a lot of mandate companies have come in who takes the project from the developer, especially the branded developers also getting involved in that from the beginning of, creating creatives or how the messaging should be from the selling point of view to everything. So how do you make sure, first of all, are you looking into the mandate business, giving it to a mandate business to take care of a certain project launch? Also, how do you make sure that your values and the vision you have for the project is intact? Because every project I've noticed with the branded developers, and I've visited a few sites myself, where I can make that difference. This is someone else, not from the developer team. But how do you make sure that the customer doesn't feel that kind of difference?
Correct. So we have chosen to build our own capability and our own team, Kritika.
Hmm.
Because I feel that today when you're selling a product, you want to feel like you're part of that product, you're part of that entire ecosystem, and it's your baby.
Yeah.
And that level of, I think, connect, loyalty, ownership only comes when it's actually your team.
True.
I'm not taking away from the branded, soul selling IPCs, ICPs.
Hmm.
They're doing a great job, I'm sure. So, as a developer, you need to take a decision whether does it make sense for you to really build your own capability and carry that cost on your books, or for this location, I really don't feel the need to do that, and I might not be able to get the reach that soul selling agent would probably be able to do, and that's a business call.
Yeah.
For the markets we are working in currently, we don't feel the need to do it.
Hmm.
I'm not telling you that that's not the right way to work. Uh, and at some point, maybe beyond a certain scale, you cannot really have so many hands and legs to reach the entire market because it's become a distribution game, right?
True.
You want to reach as many people to be able to talk, sell your product. Like
Hmm.
how today a wealth manager would go out selling products of different fund houses. It's become like that. Like how an FMCG company would want to have distributors in every part of the country.
Hmm.
So if your project is of that scale, or
Hmm.
you have projects of that scale where you really with your own internal team cannot have that kind of distribution strength,
Hmm.
then having an additional arm and leg probably would be the right strategy and it would make sense.
Hmm.
How you really, it's a merger, it's a marriage.
Yeah.
How you really make sure that their team is talking the same language as yours
Hmm.
and are as committed
Hmm.
and are not going from one station to the other because
Hmm.
for them it's an assignment, you move on, it's the next
Yeah.
assignment.
Yeah.
So it's about you partnering with the right people,
Hmm.
making sure their teams
Hmm.
have enough of a kind of a merger period where they are onboarded really to believe that they are your team and they are
Hmm.
trained as well. I think even if you're marrying, a soul selling agent, your team that is going to onboard them and control their pitch is going to be extremely important, because what a developer really controls is their brand, their pitch, and their customer experience. As long as you can make sure that you are setting that system and you are controlling that entire process, then you can have that process being executed by their people because you want more arms and legs.
Hmm.
But you need to be the owner of this process. That is when you can ensure that the experience is the same. And like what you said, you went to a certain site and you realize that these are not the developers people, they are probably just
Yeah.
here on an assignment basis.
Yeah.
That's not the experience you want the customer to get.
True.
You and when the customer is putting their life savings in this,
Hmm.
they want to know that the person on the other end is taking them seriously, and this is as important to that person also.
True.
So I think these are final things that you really need to take care of. And
Hmm.
for us, we've not had the confidence that probably an external team will be able to work with our system and
Hmm.
be as married to the entire project and the idea and philosophy behind the project. Hence, we felt that building our own capability in house probably for us right now is a better idea.
So a lot of developers now, everyone is making sure their digital marketing strategies is in place
Hmm.
because it is affecting the overall business plan altogether. So how does digital marketing strategies help you
Mhm.
make sure to cater to the right customer, and what kind of tools are you guys really leveraging on?
So, so there are umpteen number of tools as far as digital marketing and multiple platforms. So we have a digital marketing team within the marketing team that's doing this. We have the right agency tie-ups. So I think today the digital medium is the medium where you need to be present and to get the right eyeballs.
Yeah.
The customer today, before they come to your site and before their first meeting,
Hmm.
does all the kind of comparisons and research online. If you're not present there, you're
Hmm.
not part of the research. So you need to make sure that when the customer is shortlisting the project,
Hmm.
the customer has enough visibility about your project on the various platforms.
True.
And depending on the kind of customer you're targeting, your
Hmm.
digital mediums will alter accordingly. So today the digital medium has become a place where you can give enough and more information to them. What they really do is validate all of that when they come to your site. And if what they see is what they have envisioned and what you've shown them online, I think then it's a perfect match, and that's when they get the confidence to take a decision. But I feel that you today just cannot ignore the digital medium. The amount of time you spend on your phone today would probably be more than you spend with your husband and wife.
True.
So you cannot ignore being on their mobile phone. You have to be accessible and you have to be visible. It's all about you attracting the right eyeballs.
True. So, how do you envision, what are the emerging technologies that will impact the Indian real estate market in the next 5 years?
So, Kritik, I have friends who have made a business out of investing in PropTech. Okay? And I can tell you that there are so many different young kids that are working on different kind of platforms that a lot of what we do today, there is going to be a software package for almost everything that you do, from designing to your lead management to analyzing data uh, to your mundane processes, systems to management dashboards. I think there is going to be a software and system for everything. What is going to be key is what you make out of that and what you take out of that. So I feel the biggest, the most critical, area I feel is going to be AI that is going to profile the customer for you. Where imagine today if I key in data of broad set of customers that I have, and it can really cull out with their online profile and their usage of how they use online and what they research and who they really are to tell you who's the right target segment and who are the guys who are actually seeking apartments. I think giving you a a, a data set that you're confident are the guys who are really looking for this kind of a product in this location. I think that is going to be the most pathbreaking. So it's happening, and all of this is going to get a lot sharper with AI. It's going to get a lot more accurate, and this is where I feel is going to be the biggest bang for your buck. What is more powerful than someone coming and telling you that for your product, these are the guys who you should target because they are the ones who really have the affordability and the need and the willingness to buy.
True.
For any industry, for any business, nothing's more powerful than that.
Yeah.
You've got Facebooks and Instagrams and Googles of the world that have become what they become because of this, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be one of the most game-changing technologies. It's already there, but I think it's going to get a lot more refined. The other thing, like I told you, I think your ERPs are going to get a lot more robust. Today, to give you a simple example, we had to work a lot with our vendor to reach a point where agreements are auto printed from our system. So, when a legal agreement is to be printed, what really normally happens in most cases is you have your agreement, you key in the details on the basis of your booking form that's on your ERP, take a print, and that's what you sign.
Yeah.
Today, we've reached a point now where the agreements get auto printed from our system, where once the booking form is made, you don't have to do anything. With the click of a button, the agreement is printed and all data is captured. Now, imagine the amount of time that saves for the developer and the kind of bandwidth it releases, from having a team that does all these checks, three level checks, getting the print right, sometimes there are manual errors. So multiple systems and multiple processes where there are manual interventions, I think you will start having systems that can do all of that hygiene work, which then can help you to release bandwidth to do more intelligent analysis to be able to take better decisions. I think this is where I feel technology is really going to have a major role to play.
And what's your take on the metaverse, where they are saying, and it's been quite, integrated in Dubai market, where you can sit and see what kind of, your house is going to be and how it's going to look like in what view and everything, and you can directly purchase, make those transactions seamless. Do you think in India, as you said, of course, the touch and feel will always be important to Indian home buyers, but how do you see metaverse? Coming to Indian real estate market and how it's going to create a good advantage for the developer and also for the home buyers.
So today, Kritika, we already have, like I told you, renders, web VRs, virtual reality, walkthroughs. We have all of that. Today, the way the metaverse is, as in its current form, it's not as is not sharp enough. So the what you really see is still a little in the raw form. I feel a lot of that is going to get uh, more sophisticated, where I feel you'll be able to get a better view to slice and dice, to look at the entire project, to look at your apartment in more detailed form. It's also going to help a lot in interior design. I think all of these things are also going to help us as developers when we are planning the project.
The design is aesthetics and everything.
I feel that that is where the game is going to be bigger, because
True.
for the customer, it's not like today they're not getting every visual representation of what their apartment is going to be like.
Yeah.
What the metaverse probably will be an extension where it'll allow them to, change the layout. It'll allow, you to, at the click of a button, to make certain changes in terms of what paint, you know what kind of furniture, how do I place this, what if I choose this, what if I choose that, to be able to play around like a game and look at how they can design their apartment. But if you're going a step further in buying land in the metaverse and you're doing all of that, honestly, uh, I don't understand that. And if I don't understand it, I don't like to comment on it. I don't know how someone will want to buy land in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Because it's not one, right? There are multiple people that have metaverses. What is really going to get traction? How can you really monetize that? So far, I don't understand it. I don't understand crypto, and hence I don't want to comment on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about data analytics. Data analytics is integral to, informed decision. How your brand is making sure the right data analytics and market intelligence is incorporated, and you're making the right decisions when it comes to be the ongoing projects or the upcoming projects.
So we have 2-3 levels of data checks that we do. One is, we obviously have tie-ups with the data analytic companies, where we get all the data in terms of what is really the inventory in this market, what is sold over the last few years, what kind of inquiries are being generated, RERA numbers, registration numbers. So we are looking at all these numbers really to understand first, like I told you, what is the demand here, what is the gap in the market, what is the inventory overhang. Over and above that, we actually today, in markets where we've done projects, we have direct customer feedback to really understand what is it that the customer wants. We always go back to our projects and even talk to our customers that tell us, if something had to really change in this project, what should it be? So I have had customers who come back and told me, you know what, don't use black marble in the bathroom. So we've got little finer details, and that's how you keep improving, right? And the other is channel partners. So channel partners are day in and day out, they are listening to what the customers want, and they are the guys who I think get on ground feedback that no data guy can tell you, because they are sitting with customers every day, and they're understanding what the human interaction is, what they can help you with, and they can tell you what is it that they are really looking at. So when we look at a project, we look at these 3 data sets, and then we look at marrying all of this into what the product can provide. So every project, from a regulatory standpoint, has certain restrictions. So you look at marrying what the data is telling you, and how best can this project really match what the data is telling you. And that, I think, as close as you can, get that and marry these 2 data points, I think is the success of the project.
True.
And also beyond a point, it's slightly also your own knowledge about the business, because we've been doing this for so long. So we keep looking at what really didn't work in the past project, what can really be better, what would we like to improve. So it's a culmination of all of that.
So tell me, Proptech has become like a buzzword now. It's been there for long in India. Slowly, a lot of companies were there from 2016, be housing, and then later a few more companies started coming in. But right after pandemic, developers started being open when it comes to technology, when it comes to PropTech companies. Otherwise, earlier it was always focused on the sales front. कि भाई माल बिक रहा है, it's great. I don't want to put money in the technology. I don't want to bet on that. What is your take when it comes to Indian PropTech ecosystem? Do you think it has matured in the current time, or do you think it still requires a certain kind of upgraded tech, or upgraded, I would say, a bit of maturity in terms of the companies that are coming in, so that we can capture the complete market of the real estate?
So I feel there are a lot of new startups that have made a proof of concept, but for all of this to evolve, and there's a lot of capital chasing this as well. So
Yeah.
so there are listed companies now that are only looking at Proptech investments. So there are Proptech is a very large ecosystem where there are different companies catering to different segments. So I feel that we've not even scratched the surface.
Mm.
As far as maturity in this entire space, I think there's a lot of innovation that's going to happen. As the markets evolve, you're going to see a lot of companies that will come in.
Mm.
You're going to also see a lot of consolidation in this space.
Yeah.
We've seen a
Yeah.
lot of guys who got investor money,
Mm.
burnt a lot of money, and then not been successful.
Mm.
Some of them have recently in the news you've read
Got
about.
right off. Yeah.
You've read about takeovers of certain companies which
Mm.
are now probably in able hands where you'll see a turnaround story. So not every project, not every company, not every idea is going
Mm.
to see the a green
Mm.
light at the end of the tunnel. But I feel that overall, in the real estate space, there are a lot of use cases for prop tech and for technology.
Mm.
And as long as the business has a proof of concept and is viable at a unit economic level, and the focus is profitability, I
Mm.
think those are the guys who will be able to really deliver value,
Mm.
increase shareholder value, and survive. Gone are the days where you can really just try to chase scale where the unit economics don't make sense. You burn investor money and nothing really happens.
Yeah.
We've seen, forget real estate, we've seen tech companies across sectors in
Mm.
India
Yeah.
that have burned big amount of money. Uh, Proof of concept was there, but there was no unit economics,
True.
and they really didn't survive.
Yeah.
So, understanding uh, the business behind it,
Mm.
having the right integrity, having the right team, and the
Mm.
focus, I think you're going to see a lot of companies that are going to shine.
Lastly, I want to know from you, how do you envision the next step of the growth for the brand Supreme Universal? What is the milestone you're aiming at and planning to achieve, not just in the current fiscal year, but also the next?
So, the one thing, Kritika, which is our mission, is to be the number one choice of every customer in every micro market we're present in.
Mm.
If we are delivering a project and the customer is looking at that unit size, we should be the first choice. So for that, the kind of project we take up, the kind of design, the timeline of delivery, and the quality and what we provide inside, everything is engineered keeping this in mind
Mm.
that we have to be the number one choice. Because as long as you're satisfying the customer, I think everything else gets taken care of.
Yeah.
So everything else then is, and if that's the philosophy you're breathing in the entire team, I think
Mm.
everybody is focused on the customer. And rarely companies that are customer focused,
Mm.
probably don't play the long game. So
Mm.
that's the plan going forward. As far as growing, so I think not too many people really know we've delivered 75 projects.
Mm.
Been in the business for 4 decades, over 4 decades now. We are debt free. We have
Yeah.
zero debt on our books.
Mm.
In every downturn,
Mm.
we've tried to increase the number of, or rather, reduce the slab cycle in terms of
Mm.
number of days,
Mm.
just to show that we're able to deliver in any eventuality. So we are always going to be nimble-footed, Kritika. We are at a point right now where we are increasing our scale.
Mm.
So we are present in two cities, Mumbai and Pune. We provide a product from 6,500 per square foot to over a lakh per square foot. So that's the range, and we
Mm.
intend to be present in every segment, from the mid segment to the upper mid segment to the ultra luxury segment.
Mm.
Uh, Brand Supreme has been a very understated brand. We've not focused too much on above the line marketing, ATL,
Mm.
having
Mm.
ads, hoardings. What we really focused on is delivering a top quality product on time and making sure that any customer who deals with us
Mm.
will want to deal with us again. That's been our focus. Having said that, right now is a time where I feel there's a great opportunity for developers like us who protected our balance sheet, protected
Mm.
our brand image for us
Mm.
to scale up. So going forward, I feel in terms of revenue, we should be able to double our revenue in the next 2 to 3 years. That's the scale at which we plan to grow, and we surely want to be. I feel most cities will have 25 developers having 70% of market share. You have to be part of the top 20 to be able to really play this game. Because if you don't have scale, you'll not be able to attract the right talent. You'll not be able to really gear the company for the kind of velocity, because it's only scale that is going to have mind share of customers, mind share of landowners. So today, you need to play a bigger game to be able to be in this business. And for us, we're engineering ourselves, but at all points of time, we're going to be financially extremely well geared. Prudence there is going to be our mantra. At no point of time we're going to spread ourselves thin just to take up land where any bad downturn in the market can overthrow us financially. So that's our focus, and our keen eye is always there on cash flow.
But to become the first choice for home buyers, what is your plan for expansion to having a presence in the Indian real estate market?
So we've done like 2.5 million square feet in Powai. We're doing 1 million square feet in Chembur. We're doing a lot of work in the Kharbandra area. We've done work in Kandivali. So right now, our focus, as far as Bombay is concerned, we want to cover the western suburbs and South Bombay. We're already present in the east and the central suburbs. So these are two markets, the central and South Bombay, western and South Bombay, that we want to cover. We're actively looking at that. In Pune, we've already taken up 1 million square feet in Koregaon Park. We're doing 1 million square feet in Baner. We've taken up a 20-acre project very close to Tathavade and Wakar, the entire belt. So our objective is now to spread ourselves in areas where we are not present, so the brand gets more visibility and we can cater to different customer segments. Our focus will always be mid and ultra luxury as far as residential is concerned. We also do commercial, but we don't build to lease. We build to sell, start or sell. We in fact had acquired in 2019, just before COVID, we had acquired a land from Indian Overseas Bank in an auction, and we've completed the project where we've sold. We've I think it's the first Tim Hortons that's come into our project, and so we're also gung ho on that segment, because the small starter sale office format, there's not too much supply, and not too many developers cater to that segment. So that's also going to be a focus area for us.
And in the coming years, would we see the footprints expanding beyond MMR region?
So Pune and MMR are two areas that we are going to be focused on at least for the next 3 to 4 years, and then from beyond that, we'll take it as it comes. But so far, the focus is these two cities.
I want to ask you 2 or 3 unfiltered conversation kind of questions where I want you to be complete candid and open to our viewers so that they also can relate to your stories. So firstly, I want to know someone who is deeply involved in the real estate market, right? You must have witnessed the transformative power of homes to families and individuals. What if you had to share a heartwarming story, what that would be, where you have noticed in the beginning of your career, and to see that kind of impact over the resident or whoever you had handed over the project from the Supreme Universal?
I'm going to tell you a story actually, Kritika, about so we do a lot of redevelopment, where there are old societies where you rehouse them and you give them new apartments. So for them, they might not be people who pay us, but they are still our customers also, right? So I've had somebody who was in, I think, his 70s, and he always had a dream of buying a Supreme home. And he used to live in Bandra, and I remember when we were doing the entire project, before that, he must have visited our office few times to inquire about other projects, but he really could not get to buying an apartment for whatever reasons. Probably it didn't fit his budget or whatever else. And then when this entire project came up, he once met me and told me, there is someone above who probably had his or her hand on my head, where I could not afford a Supreme house, but today you have come to redevelop our project, and without paying any money, you're still handing over keys to me for an apartment in a Supreme building to me. And for me, the world has come a whole circle, and I'm living in a project and living in a project of a developer of my choice, where I've been able to upgrade my family without paying 1 rupee. And I don't think that would have ever come to. And he, for the last 5 years, was trying to buy an apartment with us, but his budget would just never allow him. So for me, someone who put that level of trust in us, and was so keen. He literally didn't buy an apartment anywhere else because he wanted to only live in a Supreme Bed project. So for me, that was beyond the profit of that project, and that line and that expression that he had, he just gave me a hug and said, "I can't thank you enough. For me today, I feel that I've arrived." And for me, that it was just a very humbling experience, and I have immense gratitude for for people who give us this kind of encouragement, because you forget the profit you made in a project. What you really remember is the experience you had and the experience you gave people.
True.
And for us, I think that pat on our back, nothing more, nothing can mean more than that.
I honestly believe that, being a real estate developer is a beautiful job altogether, because you guys are not just the creator of building beautiful buildings, but you are giving hope, and you're making people dreams come true, right?
Correct.
Because as people always say, roti kapda makan.
Correct.
And the houses are something everyone aspires
Correct.
to have it in some way or the other with certain brands.
Correct.
And I feel the developers are still being underrated, but it's always you guys are being like the best creators, I would say, that is delivering the
I'm sure
homes.
everyone and every business honestly contributes a lot to society. Some you can see visibly and some you can't.
Yeah.
But thankfully, in our case, it's a lot more visible. So we also get a lot of flack sometimes, but it's a good business to be in. I can't complain.
So real estate market is quite, challenging. It's quite evolving. It keeps changing. How do you make sure that you keep a positive mindset? Be the situation be prosperous or be it be challenging. What makes you always motivated or inspired to go with those kind of days where you be having the worst of worst cases happening or the best of the best cases happening?
There's only one formula, Kritika. You have to love what you do.
True.
If you don't love what you do, every day is hell. And if you love what you do, the worst problem can, it can't seem like a problem to you. I mean, let's talk about a mother and child relationship, right? If you have a child, the child is crying at night, not letting you sleep. It's a difficult time. You can't see your child cry, and at the same time, you want to sleep. But that process is still not painful because you have so much love for the child that it just seems like a beautiful process. And no mother will look back and say that, I don't know why I did this.
Yeah.
And if you take a mother back again, will say that I would do this whole thing again in spite of all the pain that came with it and in spite of all the labor. So if you love what you do and if your heart is in the right place, I think that's a very small price to pay, and that's what makes it fun. If an ECG machine is flat, you're dead.
Yeah.
The fun is really when you have these, spokes, up and down, and that's the fun of life, right? If life was as easy, it would not be fun. You would get bored.
Yeah.
So this is what keeps it interesting, and if you can take all this in your stride and make an opportunity out of that, that's when you really feel like you've submitted something. Otherwise, why would someone want to climb Mount Everest if it is as easy as walking on Joggers Park?
What advice would you give to the young individuals who aspire to follow in your footsteps and enter the real estate industry as a part of family legacy?
Firstly, don't think that you're part of family.
Yeah.
If you treat yourself as a professional and you're willing to work your way ground up, in most business families, unfortunately, as soon as the second generation comes in, they're made to sit on the boss's chair. I think that's the worst thing anyone can do to their child. It's important for you to work as a professional in every department, get a salary, live within the means of that salary, understand what life is as a professional, learn from people within the business, and you have to wear two hats, one of a professional at work and the other of a son or daughter, whoever it is. As long as you can keep the son and daughter at home and come to work as a professional and honestly believe that when you're at work, I think you'll learn a lot more.
And we'll start with the rapid fire. I hope you give me more interesting answers to that.
Hopefully.
First question, beachfront villa or luxury penthouse in the city?
Beachfront villa, without a doubt.
What's the most unique feature you have seen in a luxury home that left you amazed?
No ceiling.
No ceiling. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
One book that has a significant impact on your life?
There are two actually. One is Good to Great. The other one I read recently, given to me by Mr. Naveen Jindal. It's called One Thought.
One Thought. Okay. If you could have lunch with any real estate mogul or living or historical, who would it be and why?
Living mogul?
living or deceased, anyone.
Probably Sharjah, just to understand his passion behind the Taj Mahal.
Okay. One thing you wish you knew when you first entered the real estate industry.
I think if you know it, you'll never join it. You rather not know anything.
If you could develop a dream project anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Wow. I think probably it would be on the beachfront in Miami.
Nice. And why? Because of the beach.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the most exciting trend you see shaping the future of luxury real estate?
I think it's the complex demands of the buyers. I think that's what's going to push us to really evolve as developers.
Under the pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite part of the real estate development process?
I think creation. I think the creative aspect of designing.
What's your go to stress relief activity after a busy day at work?
Meditation and playing squash.
Nice. If you could sum up your real estate philosophy in 3 words, what that would be?
Treat them like the way you would want to be treated.
True. Your favorite real estate development from around the world?
Wow. Okay. Uh, so I like District 1. It's a development in Dubai by the Sheikh.
Yeah.
I think the way the entire development is planned is fantastic. Uh, Also because they really didn't have anything naturally, but what they've created out of that is amazing. It's very easy to create something where the natural views are superb because you're playing with nature. Yeah, they had nothing and they have planned and designed all of this. So from a designer's and planner's angle, I think they've done a fantastic job.
City with the most exciting real estate potential in India, according to you?
I think honestly, at the cost of sounding biased, I think the kind of developments you're going to see in Mumbai from here on, with a lot of policy changes, with a lot of connectivity, I think you're going to see some fantastic projects. Also because uh, the city, the way it is planned, is a serious challenge, right? It was never planned.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see some amazing developments in Bombay, more so because those costs can get absorbed in the price. So I think you're going to see some fantastic developments coming up. The other city that I think I already love some of the projects there, is going to be in Pune. You're going to see, and the entire belt between Bombay and Pune, because that entire infra is going to reduce the time gap so much, and land availability is there. You're going to see some great layouts, great cities develop in between these two cities.
True.
And that I think is going to be a game changer.
Nice. So, if you weren't in the real estate industry, what career you would have chosen?
Completely offbeat, and I would not make any money, but that would be a DJ and a percussionist.
Yeah, I thought you would say architect. No. Because you are quite having the love for designs and everything.
I do, but I just thought of being not connected to the business at all.
Got it, yeah. One word to describe your leadership style.
Empowerment.
A piece of technology you can't live without in your daily work life.
I hate to say it, but it's my phone.
Okay. Your go-to mantra for staying motivated even in challenging times.
Tomorrow is always better than today.
True. Most valuable lesson you have learned from a professional setback.
Don't take life too seriously.
One essential skill you believe every aspiring real estate professional should develop.
Integrity.
True. Your favorite cuisine or comfort food?
Thai.
Your quote, I think this would have covered a quote or saying that inspires you every day. That Warren Buffett one.
Yeah, I think time in the market is more important than timing in the market. Nothing else sums up philosophy of business more than that. That just allows you to be patient.
And I think we have covered this also, but I'll still ask you this: your secret to maintaining a positive, energized outlook in the fast-paced real estate environment.
Like I told you, I think just don't take life too seriously.
Okay.
You're supposed to have fun. This is not about the races with yourself. And the minute you realize that you're just competing with yourself, and as long as you evolve, you're achieving your objective, right?
True.
The bigger problem here is the greed kicks in when you really look next door. Yes, it's important to track competition and all of that. But as long as you're bettering yourself, just be happy and enjoy the process.
Should focus on your action. Yeah.
That's the energy you need to give out, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sunny, for joining us today on Let's Talk Business
Thank
and
you. It's
sharing
been a
some
pleasure.
valuable insights. And it's quite engaging conversation we had. And I wish you and Supreme Universal a lot of success in the coming time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All the best to you as well,
Thank
Kritika.
you.
Thank you.